Joyboy didn't die alone. He was betrayed by one of his own crewmates, and that crewmate rules the world to this day. For years, fans treated Joyboy like a solo legend, a nameless, faceless hero. But Oda has been planting, chapter after chapter, the pieces of an entire pirate crew standing beside him. 8 companions, each one a direct parallel to today's Straw Hats, and one of them became the greatest villain in the story. Who were these people? And why did nobody notice this before? Okay, let's slow down first, because to understand this crew, you need to understand who Joyboy actually was. Joyboy was born 900 years ago, right at the start of the Void Century, inside the ancient kingdom, a place technologically far ahead of anything we've seen in the present day of One Piece. According to the records Vegapunk revealed, the world at that time had freedom completely restricted, every race isolated in its own corner, forbidden from visiting other peoples. Joyboy was different, cheerful, funny, obsessed with freedom. Sound familiar? That's basically the description of Luffy, and that freedom came from a fruit, the Hito. Hito no Mi, model Nika, the mythical zone of the sun god. According to Vegapunk himself, this creature comes straight from the giant's tales of Elbaf, the same tales recorded in the Book of Bragman and the Tales of Sora. That means one thing a lot of people still get confused about: Joyboy is not Nika. Joyboy became Nika. According to Vegapunk's theory, devil fruits come from someone's desire and dream. Someone, in the past, dreamed so hard of being the sun god from the Elbaf legends that the dream literally turned into a fruit. And Joyboy ate it. With that freedom, he did what nobody had ever done. He sailed the seas. The first pirate in history. He visited islands, met different races, and dreamed of uniting everyone in one place. But here's the detail most people skip right past: a pirate doesn't sail alone. And here's where things start getting strange. If Joyboy is a direct parallel to Luffy, and he is, both of them are the same sun god, 800 years apart, then it makes total sense that he had a crew. And not just any crew, one that mirrors, almost piece by piece, the Straw Hat crew. Let's start with the most obvious one, Zunisha. The giant elephant has already been confirmed as Joyboy's companion, present throughout his journey. A huge, loyal animal by the captain's side. The direct parallel to Chopper. Then there's Emmett, the ancient robot from Wano. When he heard the beat of the drums of liberation through Luffy's haki, he woke up after centuries and said only, "I'm sorry, Joyboy." A giant robot, guarding a request from Joyboy for 800 years, the parallel to Frankie. Now, the Zoro of the crew, Ryuma, the legendary god of swordsmen, alive during the Golden Age, which most likely refers to the Void Century itself. Zoro is a direct descendant of his, and if the greatest swordsman of the future descends from Ryuma, it makes sense that Ryuma was the greatest swordsman of the past. Standing next to Joyboy, the parallel to Sanji is even more shocking. Lunarian, the race that lived atop the Red Line before being nearly wiped out 800 years ago, when the world government seized their territory. And why Sanji? Because Judge, his father, used Lunarian bloodline factors in the experiments on his children, the same experiments that gave Sanji his resistance, speed, and blue flames on his feet. The exact same Lunarian traits. The parallel to Usopp is an ancestor of the Mont Blanc family, the lineage of Noland, the explorer known as a liar, who actually always told the truth. Just like Usopp, the parallel to Jinbei is Princess Poseidon of that era, owner of the only personal poneglyph ever found. Written by Joyboy himself, apologizing for not keeping a promise. Both are fishmen. Both control giant sea creatures. The parallel to Nami is Toki. She lived during the Void Century and used her power to travel 800 years into the future. Only forward, never back. Exactly how the Grand Line works. A time corridor that only lets you move ahead. And the parallel to Robin is a member of the Kazuki clan, the very clan that built the poneglyphs and mastered the ancient language. That leaves just one, and he's the most disturbing of all. Brook, the hardest parallel to find, because he's so abnormal that there's only one person in all of One Piece who's anything like him, Imu. Let's build this carefully, because each piece here supports the next. First, Aimu has been alive for at least 800 years. That alone creates the basic parallel with Brook in existence that only continues thanks to something beyond natural means. Second, in chapter 1181, we see Aimu and Joyboy talking in the past, in a way that suggests closeness, almost friendship. That's not just any encounter between enemies. It's the kind of scene Oda only draws when he wants to show a relationship that existed before the betrayal. Third, when Aimu remembers this conversation, he screams in anger, saying that the joy of this world lies in dominance. In other words, Aimu wasn't born believing this. He arrived at that conclusion after getting close to Joyboy, after seeing his ideology of freedom up close. Now connect the dots. If Aimu sailed alongside Joyboy, saw his dream of freedom firsthand, and concluded that too much freedom is a recipe for chaos, that's not the opinion of some outsider. That's the opinion of someone who was inside the crew, who watched the project fail, and decided the solution was the opposite: total control. And there's one line that changes everything. When Emmett woke up, he didn't just say, "I'm sorry, Joyboy." He was carrying a specific request from Joyboy, to be fulfilled when the right time came. A request that only makes sense if Joyboy knew, or suspected, that something or someone was going to fail him. And here's the detail nobody talks about enough. In the scene of Joyboy's battle against the 20 Kings, he's alone. Completely alone. Not a single companion by his side, in the biggest fight of his life. Think about it, if he had an entire crew, a Lunarian, a princess who controls sea monsters, the greatest swordsman in the world, why wasn't a single one of them there? Because someone made sure they never arrived in time. Or worse, someone made sure Joyboy was abandoned, and suddenly, a completely different picture emerges. It wasn't just the world government that defeated Joyboy, it was a betrayal from inside his own crew. Suddenly, Emmett's line carries a whole new weight. "I'm sorry, Joyboy" isn't about arriving late to some random battle. It's about failing to stop a betrayal he saw coming. I genuinely don't know how I missed this for so long. If this theory is right, it completely changes how we should read the final saga. First, Luffy is not going to repeat Joyboy's fate. He already has, standing right beside him, the living parallels of almost every one of Joyboy's old companions: Chopper, Frankie, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, Jinbei, Nami, Robin, and none of them are going to betray him. That's Oda showing us, chapter after chapter, that this time, the bad future won't repeat itself. Second, this reinforces that Aimu isn't just a distant, mysterious villain. He's essentially this story's Judas. And every time he talks about the joy of this world, he's unknowingly answering something Joyboy said to him centuries ago. Third, for Elbaf and the final confrontation, this suggests Luffy's victory won't depend only on strength. It'll depend on keeping this crew united until the end. Because the last time that didn't happen, the entire world paid the price for 800 years. You now know something most fans still haven't connected. The reason Oda keeps emphasizing the bond between the Straw Hats isn't just about group charisma. It's living proof that, this time, nobody's going to turn their back. So, putting it all together, Joyboy had an entire crew. A loyal elephant, a guardian robot, the greatest swordsman, a nearly extinct lineage of solar warriors, a liar who speaks the truth, a princess of the seas, a time traveler, a keeper of ancient history, and in the middle of all of them, a friend who became the worst enemy the world has ever known. How did nobody put this together before? Personally, I think Oda has been building this since Zanisha's very first flashback in Zoo. Every piece: the robot, the personal poneglyph, Aimu's betrayal was planted years before it made sense. And if I'm right, the day Oda confirms who each of these companions really was is going to break the fandom. If this theory is right, it changes how we read every single Aimu appearance from now on. But I want to know what you think. Did Oda plan this from the start? Or am I connecting too many dots? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you want to understand why Luffy's fate will be different from Joyboy's, the next video is linked right here.